Coming up next on Access Framingham TV, we visit Trinidad, and my guest will be John Paul Sydnor and his sons, Josiah and Isaac. Stay tuned. Welcome to Travels with Jack. I'm your host, Jack Barron. Where have your travels taken you? Share your experience with our audience. Tell us about a recent trip, a vacation, a cruise, maybe a day trip right here in New England. How did you get there? Where did you stay? How was the shopping, the good food you enjoyed, the people that you met, anything you'd like to share with your friends and our viewing audience? Just contact us here at Access Framingham Television and let us know you'd like to be a guest. You can phone AFTV at 508-875-5434, or you can send an email message to info@accessfram.tv. Our associate producer will contact you to make arrangements for you to be on our show here on Access Framingham TV. Today, my guests are John Paul Sydnor and his two sons, Josiah and Isaac. In the winter of 2011-2012, John Paul and his family spent 3 weeks in Trinidad. John Paul, Josiah, and Isaac will share their insights and memories of their visit. Welcome, John Paul. Welcome, Josiah and Isaac. Thanks for coming, guys. A little history. Josiah, hold up your hand, is 10, and he's a student at Fisher Elementary in Walpole. His brother, Isaac, there you go, is at the Norwood Montessori School. Both of these young gentlemen have an affection for history. Dad, John Paul, is an associate professor at Emmanuel College in Boston, where he is a instructor in worlds of the religions of the world. He lives with his wife, Abby, in Walpole. Abby is a pastor, a religious person. And they also have together a 4-year-old daughter, Lydia, who isn't with us today. And JP grew up in Richmond, Virginia. But he's going to talk to us about his trip to Trinidad, which was funded by the Whiting Foundation. And the reason they sent JP and the family was so that JP could better educate his students on the, we'll say, the general Trinidad culture. The whole family went on this trip, and they will share that experience with us today. So welcome. So we'll start out, if you would, tell me a little bit. How did you get going? You left Boston. Did you leave through Logan? How did you get down to Trinidad?
Well, I'll start a little bit earlier about applying for the grant, because the Mary and Jasper Whiting Foundation has a grant, and it's purely for to improve your teaching.
Okay.
And so I teach world religions, and people don't know much about Trinidad, but it's actually a fascinating culture because it's a mixture of Islam and Hinduism and Roman Catholicism and Protestant Christianity, and it's about 40% Afro-Caribbean and about 40% Indo-Caribbean, about 40% of their population.
I think the Prime Minister is of Indian extraction.
Right now. That goes back and forth.
Back and forth. Okay.
It's a very successful democracy. It's very pluralistic. A lot of different ethnicities and religions and cultures. And I teach world religions and also interreligious relations, how religions relate to each other. So by going there, I got to study the religions and how they interact, and it was a fascinating. It is a fascinating culture. It's a great place to visit. The food's fantastic. And
my daughter said to me, she said, "You're doing a show tonight?" I said, "Yep." She says, "Where is the guest talking about?" I said, "Trinidad." She says, they have great food.
They have great food.
That's what she told me, which is one of my favorite things, by the way.
Oh, okay. Then you should go to the Cole Pot, the Cole, C-O-A-L Pot. That's a Trinidadian restaurant in Hyde Park.
Okay.
And get the doubles.
Okay.
Doubles are just the best food.
Double martinis?
No, not double martinis. If they were double martinis, these boys would not have had doubles. Doubles are like one of the best foods I've ever had, and they're so good I can't believe there isn't a huge doubles franchise in America like McDonald's or something.
Really?
Because I would eat doubles every day.
And what are doubles?
Doubles are, y'all want to tell them what doubles are?
It's like an Indian food with tropical fruits, meat.
They mix fruits and meats and everything. Oh, wow. And I'm sure they had great fruit down there.
Oh, they have great fruit. They take a piece of bread and they fry it, so it's kind of like a donut. Then they put some chickpea sauce in it. And then you can get your choice of different chutneys to put on top of it.
Oh, okay.
So you get a mango chutney or a tamarind chutney, sweet chutney. You make it really spicy. And they just taste fantastic. I mean, they're just unbelievable.
And the kids liked it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, good.
Liked is an understatement.
All right.
They loved it.
So the Whiting Foundation said, come on, we want you down here. And back to, you flew out of Logan, or?
Flew from Logan through Houston to...
through Houston. Okay.
That Houston's way out of the way. That was just like the cheapest ticket we could get.
Okay, all right.
So yeah, went from Logan through Houston to Port of Spain in Trinidad.
That is the capital?
Correct.
Okay. And then you were met there, you went to a hotel. Where did you stay?
We were met at the airport by the lady who runs our B&B that we stayed in, which is called Samis Villa.
Okay.
It's a fantastic place to stay. She took great care of us.
You sound like you were very happy with everything.
Oh my goodness,
the food
we were.
And the accommodation.
Oh, we were.
Okay.
And her name's Denise. She picked us up at the airport, and we drove to the B&B, which is just outside of Port of Spain, very near the zoo.
Yep.
And the botanical gardens. And,
they have all that.
Yeah. And that's where we stayed.
A little history on Trinidad. It was originally, what, Spanish or Portuguese?
Originally Spanish.
Yep.
So started off Spanish, and the British, Isaac will tell you more about this later, but they are blessed with the world's largest tar pit. The world's largest is called Pitch Lake. It's basically a huge thing of asphalt bubbling up from the earth.
Oh, really?
And
Did you guys see it?
Yeah.
What does it look like, a volcano?
No.
No?
It's almost like a huge piece of rubber.
Oh, okay.
It's like, yeah.
Okay, so
And
they have
has some warm pools in it that you can go in.
What do you mean, you can go into it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's not that hot?
No.
It's hard.
Oh, really?
So it's kind of like an asphalt.
Wow.
But you only want to go into it with a guide.
Okay.
Because there are weak spots. And the guides know where the weak spots are.
Oh, okay.
And if you fall into a weak spot, you fall into the pitch, and that's not a good thing.
Not a good thing.
Not a good
thing. So, back to the Spanish.
Yes.
Were originally there.
Correct.
Then the British came in.
Came in late 1700s. Took it from the Spanish.
Okay.
Primarily because they wanted the
asphalt.
The asphalt to treat their ships with, to seal their ships.
I got you. In those years, they tarred the ships.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And they had it until independence in 1953.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, so a long time they had it.
Mm-hmm.
So still a lot of British influence.
Yes.
And is that how the Indians came? Oh, here's our map.
There's the map.
Okay.
So you see it's very near Venezuela.
Yep.
So it's actually 6 miles from Venezuela at the closest point, right at the bottom of the Lesser Antilles.
Okay.
And that's a closer map. You see Port of Spain up there to the left. You see how close the pink part is Venezuela. So it's very close to Venezuela. And so we were just north of Port of Spain.
Any oil in Trinidad?
Yeah, they have a lot of oil and a lot of
really?
natural gas that they also
so
export.
they have a wealthy, rich.
They are a fairly prosperous country.
Oh, okay.
They have sugarcane. They have they export tropical fruits. They export natural gas, oil, and they still export asphalt from Pitch Lake.
Oh, okay.
So quite prosperous.
Oh, that's good to know. So I know we had a picture of a bird up there. Tell me if the significance of this bird.
All right, what's going on here?
This is a bird from Airdate Nature Center, which is located in the mountains of Trinidad.
Okay.
And there's a bird, one of the 159 species of birds there.
Wow.
There's one of them.
Wow. That's impressive. 159 different birds.
Yeah.
There's
a hummingbird.
Yep.
There are 20 different species of hummingbirds.
How do you remember all this?
I reviewed.
Oh, all right. I'm impressed.
I drilled them on the way here.
Some more hummingbirds. And there are some sweet water, sugar water.
Oh, that's what they're drinking.
Yeah.
This is what?
This is where we watched the birds.
Oh, so this is a whole thing. People go and sit and take photos and everything.
That's the veranda of the Asa Wright Nature Center.
Okay.
It's just a beautiful, wonderful place.
Some more of the veranda.
Oh, what's this? So tell them who that is.
That's our bus driver.
Okay.
And Robert. And Isaac. That's Isaac when he was 2 years younger. And Lydia when she was 2, our 4-year-old sister.
Oh, okay.
That's a good shot of Lydia.
Snake?
That's a Cook's boa constrictor. It's a boa constrictor that lives in the trees. This is at Coroni Swamp, which is in a mangrove swamp. There's a caiman, which is a mix between an alligator and a crocodile, somewhere in between.
Do they raise caimans there? Do you know? No? Okay.
I don't think so. There's scarlet ibises and white herons. They're going to an island to stay for the night.
Very pretty birds.
Yeah.
So there's another Cook's boa constrictor.
Did they tell you to watch out for the boa constrictors?
Not
No?
to my knowledge.
They assured us that they would not drop out of the trees onto our heads.
They did promise you that.
They assured us of that. And that did not happen. So, which is, we think, good.
Your mother must have done some prayers for you.
Yeah.
Some more of the scarlet ibises.
So some of these
white herons.
Yeah, so some of these pictures didn't turn out particularly well. We were really far away and it was dusk.
All right.
But it's hard to describe. This is one of the most amazing things that I've seen in my life, and it's I'm quite well traveled. It's just amazing. The island, there's an island in the water. And then at dusk, the scarlet ibises come from the south and the white herons come from the north, and they all land on the same island. So gradually this island goes from being a green island to being a green island just covered with red and white specks. So it looks, by the time the sun's setting, it looks like a
Christmas tree.
like a Christmas tree. It's amazing. It's really beautiful.
Now this is?
I took this picture right here, and of course I went there primarily to study the religious traditions.
Okay.
So I thought this was very interesting because you know this is a Hindu household because of the flag in front. But you can also see, well, you can't see it too clearly.
I see a Santa Claus.
There's a Santa Claus right there in front. There's a whole Santa Claus with reindeer, and then there's a Merry Christmas sign as well. So this is a Hindu family that is very open to celebrating Christmas.
Okay.
And it's interesting to me because Hinduism, the strength of Hinduism as a religion, is that it's always encountered other religions and then embraced the other religions or aspects of the other religions and incorporated them into itself while remaining Hindu. You know, and there's some
Sikhs Hindus?
Sikhs are not Hindus. They come out of a Hindu context, but they're not.
Because I know Sikhs traditionally in India are not terribly fond of Islam.
There has been interreligious tension in the past, particularly during the time of partition when Pakistan separated from India. That was a very difficult time for the entire subcontinent. So,
But here, these Hindus seem to embrace Christianity.
they're not embracing it. They can
Celebrating
remain Hindu and still celebrate Christmas.
I got you. Did you find that in other groups in Trinidad? For example, if you went to an Muslim or Islam neighborhood, were you also seeing them celebrate Christmas?
No, that's it's really more of a Hindu practice.
Okay.
The Hindus are very interested in, if they meet another religion, they tend to be very interested in it, and they'll look for good things in it, and they might take the good things and borrow from it, but then they still remain Hindu. So it's one way that religions meet each other. And other religions, sometimes, if they encounter another religion, they won't have anything to do with it. So it was interesting for me to study that and see that in Trinidad.
This is the tar pit that was taken from Spain.
Taken from Spain? Mm-hmm.
Taken by Spain from the English to get the tar to tar the boats.
So the tar pit has vegetation growing on it?
Yeah.
Oh, and I see a cow.
Yeah, those cows.
Okay, so the tar
cow.
Tar cow.
And this is a little railroad or something.
Yeah, that brings the tar back and forth to sell and, make into asphalt.
Oh, there's the tar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they're still harvesting the tar and exporting it.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
And it's still the biggest tar pit. Yeah, it's really neat.
Looks like a pretty old.
So that kind of gives you a sense for what it looks like. It looks like a huge, uneven parking lot.
Yeah.
It's hard on top, and you can walk on it. But the problem is there are weak spots, and if you walk on it without a guide, you might fall through.
Okay.
Which happens
It's
on
not
occasion.
what I pictured at all. I pictured a bubbling cauldron.
Right.
So it's quite different than that.
Well, once it gets that far from the earth, it cools down and it hardens.
Okay.
But if you go down 2 feet, it's going to be liquid,
hot,
warm.
Okay.
And you can't swim in it. So, and this is just the industrial machinery of harvesting the tar and taking it out. It's always bubbling up.
Really?
So you see they're taking the top off and it replenishes itself.
Huh.
So it's oozing up from the earth.
And do they use this still on roadways, or do they use it for something else?
I actually read what they do with it now, and they don't use it so much to make asphalt anymore. They use it in a process that makes, I think, bitumen or something, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
This was
all right.
The description was over my head.
That's okay. It's interesting, though. And back to the religious concept, when the British had it, is that where a lot of the Indians were brought in?
Correct.
Okay.
That's exactly what happened. When the British Empire ended slavery in the first half of the 1800s, they had used African slaves on the sugar plantations.
Yep.
All the African slaves said, we're done. They went into the cities and started living in cities. Then you had all these sugar plantations that had nobody to work them. So the Brits advertised for 5-year contract workers from India, because they knew how to harvest sugar, to come over and work the plantations. They'd be paid, they'd get housing, and then they would go back after 5 years. Of course, what happened was after 5 years, they stayed.
Okay.
So you ended up with an island that's 40% Indian, 40% African, 20% mixed. So this meeting place of cultures, it's just very fascinating. That's another picture of the tar pit right there.
Oh, that's the tar.
Yeah, that's a weak spot in the tar.
Okay.
So you can see where you wouldn't want to fall.
Oh, and you kids were playing with the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Actually, I have a piece of that tar. Yeah.
Yeah, we brought some home with us.
Okay, this is...
Now, this is interesting. I'm interested in religion, obviously. So this is a Presbyterian church near the tar pit. And you can see it's still got its Hindi name, Dharmka Surge. And you can also see that the Presbyterians, which are usually in America, are very averse to using any images. How they have, even though they're now Presbyterian, they're from India, so they are still using images, and that was interesting to me as well.
Are there a lot of Indian people who are Presbyterian?
Well, you can see that this was founded in the late 1800s.
Probably by a British. K.J. Grant? No?
I'm
Looks like a British
probably,
name.
but some of them did come over from India. A lot of them converted once they got there.
Really?
A lot of the Afro-Indians or Afro-Trinidadians are Catholic and Anglican. So now this right here is a picture of the Society for Krishna Consciousness, the Hare Krishnas, which is also down in Trinidad as well. And that's their chant, and they were advertising for people to come in and visit their place of worship and worship Krishna with them. So I just took a picture of that. That's very near the Presbyterian Church.
And
now,
who's this?
There is a form of music very particular to Trinidad called chutney. It's only in Trinidad.
Okay.
And it's a mixture of African music and Indian music.
That's quite a mix.
It's a very much, very interesting mixture. And
so
that
they play the sitar along with Congo drums?
Not
no?
so much. It's more the style and rhythm and Indian tonalities, but put with a lot of the African
beat.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that is the founder of chutney. Now this is Josiah's prom date from his when he went to the elementary school. What is this right here, Josiah and Isaac? Do y'all remember this?
This is where the parade took place.
This is this is outfits that are being sold for festival.
Oh, they have like Mardi Gras.
Carnival.
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 They have a huge carnival.
As does Brazil. Brazil has
Correct.
big carnival.
Correct.
Yes.
And it has to do very often with Lent.
Correct. It's before Lent, before Ash Wednesday. So they have
Okay.
Mardi Gras, they have Carnival, and
Oh, so Trinidad has a big Mardi Gras.
very much so.
Oh, and you
Very.
kids were there during...
No, not during it.
No?
These shops sell these outfits year round.
Oh, okay.
And these outfits cost like $700 or so.
Wow.
Although there's not much material, as you can see. Now, these are the steel pans.
Yeah.
The steel pan is, most musicologists would say, the only truly new musical instrument invented in the 20th century.
Okay.
And what happened was men who worked in the dockyards were moving around these steel barrels, and they found out that if they put different sized indentations in the barrel, it would make different tones, and they could tone the size of the indentations to make very precise musical tones, and then they could play them. And so, and that is the national instrument, the steel pan. Very unique sound and very beautiful music.
Oh, this looks nice. This is the port?
Right, now this is St. James. This is the area of Port of Spain
Yeah.
that is primarily Indian and Hindu. So I just visited this area of Port of Spain because I wanted to see how the Hindus and Indians had enculturated into...
Ganges
So
Street.
there's Ganges Street in
Okay.
Trinidad. It's very interesting. That's the most famous and prominent river in India, street named after in Trinidad. But you'll see from the picture, there's Ali's roti shop. So Ali is a Muslim name, so you got a Muslim Indian
And I see
here.
all meats halal, which would be
Correct.
Islamic kosher is what halal is.
Yeah, very much so. And then you got a jerk pot, so you got a Caribbean cultural influence there right behind it. Roti is a very popular food in Trinidad. I met this man. He was just outside of his house. We started talking. He's a Muslim merchant. Nice man. He talked to me about his business, and he lived right next to the Hindu temple, and enjoyed living next to the Hindu temple and got along with his neighbors. So very peaceful. This is actually a sign outside one of those steel pan groups. They are the steel pan. These groups that play the steel pan. They're like community centers, and they have dress codes, and they really promote good morals amongst the youth. And so it's interesting. And the steel pan community centers are very inter-ethnic. They'll have Afro-Trinidadians and Indo-Trinidadians, and they're also very interreligious. So I just thought that was interesting. You had the Hindu flags. You got the Ali's Pet Shop, which is usually a Muslim name. And, everybody's living together and everybody's getting along fine.
That's what I was going to ask you. You do get a sense they get along pretty well?
Yes.
Okay.
There's largely interreligious harmony in Trinidad. They actually have a council of their religious leaders that actively works to promote and preserve interreligious harmony.
Calcutta Street.
And then you see they have Chinese
people
also.
too.
So they did have a lot of Chinese.
How big a Chinese population would you
2
say?
to 3%.
Okay.
Yes,
small.
not large.
Small.
Yeah, small. Now this is Makarip Bay. Do y'all want to tell about Makarip Bay? Do you remember swimming there?
Yeah.
Wait, was that the one that Josiah got this?
No, that was Maracas Bay. This is Makarip. So we just went here one day to swim, and a lot of beautiful beaches in Trinidad.
And of course the warm Caribbean waters.
Yes, warm all year round. That's another picture of Makarip Beach.
This is the Hanuman statue. It's the largest statue out of India. The largest Hanuman statue out of India.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, it looks pretty big.
And it's 85 feet.
Good job, buddy.
Wow.
And that's a camel that Josiah took a picture of.
That's the founder of the Dattatreya Yoga Center, where the Hanuman statue is. Tell them more about Hanuman.
Is that a statue as well?
That's a big cutout.
Okay.
It's two-dimensional, I mean. Tell them more about Hanuman.
Hanuman was he's half human, half monkey, and he saved Rama's wife, which is Sydnor.
Oh,
okay.
Sita.
In the Ramayana.
Ramayana.
Good job, buddy.
Well, that's a lot to remember.
It is. It is.
Your host couldn't remember that much. So you would say there was a general feeling you got that the religions got along well?
Yes, generally.
Would you say that was because traditionally they had a history of the groups getting together and the leaders saying we need to get along?
You know, I'm not sure why. I mean, I did some research on it, and of course, in one of the big solutions to interreligious harmony is freedom of religion. And they more or less had that under the British Empire. It wasn't perfect, as we'll see later when we get to Waterloo Temple. But more or less, they were able to practice their religions. So that helped. And then they also, I think, you know, they never had a charismatic leader who wanted religious strife. And that's helpful. I mean, you end up with some leaders who want peace instead of strife at a historical moment, and that can also be very helpful. Now, the politics, I'll just tell you, the politics in Trinidad...
Hold on. This is a program from...
Oh, that's a picture from the Dattatreya Yoga Center.
Okay.
That we were just looking at the statue of. So that's just a program showing what they do.
And there's that big statue again.
Another statue of Hanuman.
It's huge.
85 feet. There's Josiah and Isaac outside a smaller statue that's also of Hanuman. And that's the entrance to the temple, which we also entered and looked around.
This is a Hindu temple.
Yes, very much a Hindu temple.
Very colorful.
It's very colorful.
Yeah.
It's very much like what you would see in India itself.
Yeah, but the streets look much cleaner.
It's Josiah and Isaac in the where they have the sacred fire.
Yeah, they look good.
Yeah, they're doing well.
Oh, there's
and
the
that's
family.
Our family. So that's Lydia, and that's my wife, Abby, at the door to the temple. It's a very nice place, very clean. That was the priest or guru, and we had a long conversation with him afterward. He came out and spoke with us, and it was just very interesting what he said. He was very hospitable and very open to other religions, but also very grounded in his own Hindu tradition. So very much a peacemaker. And I enjoyed talking with him. I also talked with our driver was also talking with them, so that's...
Oh, I see you have the color there above your
yeah,
nose.
we put on some tilaks on on our foreheads.
Okay.
Isaac had one also, which I think we're going to see in a second.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
Isaac.
Okay.
And my mom has that picture framed.
Yep, we got that one framed in black and white. Mommy really liked that one.
No, not
Okay.
black and white.
It's not in black and white?
No.
So that's our
No,
driver,
it's-
Robert. So that was interesting because we know he's Roman Catholic and he's never
He
really
was
had
a
a
Roman Catholic.
long conversation with a Hindu before. He was very interested in what the guru was saying. And then I'm standing there. Of course, I'm a Protestant Christian, and I'm listening. It was a nice conversation. And that's leaving. That's Hanuman silhouetted. So here we went to this museum, which is a museum of Indian history, which is near the yoga center that we had visited. And we just show you some historical stuff about, this is the inside of one of their, a place they would have lived in when they arrived. So they lived in
the 1800s,
correct,
late 1700s?
in the 1800s.
Okay.
That's pretty much what it would have looked like
Okay.
when they first arrived there. It's I believe it's wattle and daub, so sticks woven together and then put clay on it, let it dry.
Oh,
And then that's Ganesh,
that's
a
an
Hindu
Indian.
god.
That's a elephant, isn't it?
That is an elephant-headed. You tell them.
It's Shiva's son.
Okay.
And it's a really long story. Like, Shiva's wife wanted to
Bathe.
bathe, and she set Shiva's guard to let no one in, and then he let in Shiva, and then Shiva saw her, and then she got really mad and made this, like, sap statue, and it turned to life, and then
Oh, okay.
Shiva destroyed it, and then they put on an elephant's head and became Shiva's son.
Interesting. Better behave. Is that what the lesson of the
Exactly.
story
That's
is?
the lesson.
And
So this is the boat that they came over on, a whole lot of them in the first trip.
Oh, it was this small a boat?
Well, no, that's just a model.
Oh, okay.
That's just a model. It was
That
a
is a
big,
model.
It was
Okay.
a big steamer.
Okay.
But that sailed from out of Calcutta to Port of Spain.
And there's your daughter.
Yep, that's my daughter and
me.
Isaac. And that's my wife and me.
Okay.
Yep. So this is Waterloo, Sudasadu Temple in the Sea. Isaac knows something about this stuff. You want to tell him,
Yeah.
Isaac?
The man lived on a sugar plantation, and he built a temple,
A Hindu temple.
a Hindu temple on the sugar plantation, and then they tore it down and put him in jail for 2 weeks. So he said, if I can't build a temple on the land, I'll build it out in the ocean. And so he started building it out in the ocean, but then he never got the job finished, so the community he died before he got it finished, and then the community put it
Finished
back.
it. Oh, wonderful.
So the sugar plantation was owned by British Christians.
Okay.
And he started building a Hindu temple on the sugar plantation.
And they didn't like that.
They tore it down, convicted him of trespassing, put him in jail for 2 weeks.
Oh, he did not work for them or anything?
He did work for him.
He did.
Yeah. No, he did work for him. And then he said, well, if I can't build it on the land, I'm going to build it in the sea. So he started building the temple in the sea. He didn't finish it, but the community was so inspired by what he did that they went ahead and finished it. And now it's a very important community center. So that's the temple itself.
Now, what do all
out
the
in the sea.
flags indicate? I know you've mentioned several times that you see the flags and you know it's a Hindu. What is the significance?
They're Hindu prayer flags. They're
Oh, they're
symbols
prayer
of
flags.
Yeah, they're prayer
Okay.
flags, symbols of religiosity, symbols of faith,
Okay.
reminders of the transcendent of God.
Okay.
So
Because I'm not that familiar with what.
yeah, and I saw a lot more of these Hindu prayer flags in Trinidad than I do in India, really. So
Okay.
that was kind of interesting to me. I'm not sure why I'm seeing more in Trinidad than in India.
But it's
that's
a
how it
big
worked
thing
out.
there.
Yes. That's just a boat that was outside.
It looks like
near
a
the
bird
temple.
boat.
It is a bird boat. That's the temple itself.
Oh, that they finished. Okay.
Yep. So you see the trident on the left. It's a little bit cut off. That's a symbol of Shiva. Then you've got the Om symbol over on the right up in the sky. And then outside the temple, there's pictures of different gods and goddesses. So it's definitely a multiple gods and goddesses depicted, but a very important site of worship there. That's an offering somebody had made.
Okay.
You know, just floating in the water. And this is us leaving, so more prayer flags, a lot of beautiful gardens, which are
yes, I was going to say, it looks like a beautiful garden.
Yeah, very typical of Hindu temples is to have beautiful gardens around them. Absolutely.
Okay. There is a garden in, well, go ahead, I'll let you talk.
This is just a very interesting picture. I mean, we were just leaving, and we saw this statue off to the side. You see the four arms that are typical of a Hindu god or goddess, and then you see it's decorated with jewelry, and then it's got offerings broken around it, the pots and whatnot. So I don't know anything more about it than what I just told you, but it's just a fascinating picture. And this is a cremation site. Hindus practice cremation, and of course you need a ritually pure place to practice cremation. You just can't do it anywhere.
When they cremate, do they send, like the Buddhists very often send offerings, not offerings, gifts kind of to go with the person in the cremation? You know, you'll go like in China and you see them put in like paper mache cell phones
that's
and stuff.
more of a Chinese, East
okay,
Asian.
so the Hindu, you don't see that.
No.
Okay.
The Koreans do that in Chinese, but not so much the Indians. They pretty much just let them go. They have, I mean, rituals they perform. They'll have a priest come, chant prayers, etc., etc. Family will be there, usually just male members of the family and not female members of the family.
Okay.
In Indian tradition, usually. And but it's also important that the place be ritually pure.
This is where they do the cremation?
Yes, that's where they do the cremation.
Intermarriage on the island. Did you see much of it? Some of it?
There is quite a bit of intermarriage. You know, it's not a ton, but it's definitely a significant factor. I mean, they have a 20% mixed population, and I think as you see the the bonds kind of breaking down, you'll see more of that.
So it wouldn't be unusual then for a Hindu woman to marry a Catholic man, or
it would be unusual, but not unheard of.
Okay.
Unusual, but not unheard of.
Okay. And you think more of that is coming?
I think more of that's coming.
Okay. This is again flagged.
That's the same place, Waterloo Temple by the sea. And I think the next picture will show a sign. Sacred grounds, no meat and alcohol allowed. So meat is considered ritually impure, alcohol is ritually impure, so neither of those are allowed at the cremation site.
But mostly beef.
Yeah, beef is especially bad. You don't want to do that. It's a cremation site constructed by the Caroni County Council. So that's just letting people know who put it there and why it's there. So the Hindus are getting together and getting what they need.
Hindus in day-to-day life, what is their allowance for alcohol? Can they drink?
It's frowned upon.
Really?
Quite frowned upon, yes.
Okay, because I know in Muslim, somewhat frowned upon, but a lot of Muslims tell me no, you can drink.
Right, and I would say it's very similar in Hinduism and Islam. It's frowned upon, but some people do it, but you're not going to be super out about doing it.
Okay, all right.
So that was just a poem on a plaque outside the Waterloo Temple.
Well, that was the 500th anniversary.
Correct. That's the person who built it.
Okay.
Right there. So quite an impressive character to have had the idea, and couldn't finish it in his lifetime, but it was eventually finished. So I think that's impressive.
Did you get a sense that they had the largest? Well, go ahead. Who's this man?
This is interesting. This is another Hindu, and he's wearing a Christian shirt. I just thought that was interesting. You know, there are, see, the Christians and Muslims, they won't wear Hindu stuff so much, but the Hindus will wear Christian stuff and maybe Muslim stuff. I don't know, and it doesn't bother them. So it was just interesting to me that he was laid back about it, and yet they still remain Hindu. Remain faithful to their own tradition.
Oh, this looks very fancy.
Yes, this is Trivedi Mandir. This is a very large Hindu temple built in South Trinidad. That's where most of the Hindus are, because that's where the sugar plantations were. And a very wealthy Hindu Indian built this particular
I was going to say, it
temple.
looks very nice.
It's very nice, and the blocks were actually imported from India. Very interesting. This is a stained glass window with the Om's symbol in the center. Now, in all my travels in India, I have never seen a Hindu temple with a stained glass window.
Oh, okay.
So what you're seeing in this picture is
Christianity coming together.
The intermixing of cultures, and the Hindus are saying, wow, they have stained glass windows, those look nice, why don't we use those? And so the religions are influencing each other, which I think is a positive
Well, you know,
thing.
you see that actually, like in Istanbul, when you see the Great Blue, I think it was the Blue Mosque, was originally a Christian church.
Yeah, Hagia Sophia, exactly.
So they took and converted them to Islamic sites, so you do have some of the...
Correct.
So it's kind of the same.
Yeah.
Looked quite beautiful.
It was very beautiful inside in the Triveni Mandir. So that's just the schedule of it. And some of this I just thought was interesting because it looks so much. It so much looks like a Christian American church. I mean, you got to sign up. This is when we're open. This is your email, upcoming events, etc.
Did you find? And I find in a lot of countries. I'll give you an example. In Indonesia, you have a lot of Chinese, ethnically Chinese Indonesians who are very active in banking and the automobile sector and the business sector. And there seems to be some animosity toward their success because of that. Did you get a sense in Trinidad where were the Indian people more in charge of the banking sector and the business, or did you find everybody seemed to be in everything?
I think there's a little bit of resentment. I think a lot of the Indians do hold a lot of the professional positions.
Okay.
Medical
Doctors,
positions.
lawyers, okay.
Lawyers, a lot of businesses, etc.
Yep.
So it's not too bad, but they do seem to have a bit of a lock on a lot of the professions.
Okay.
And so that does always causes some resentment when there's one ethnicity with more of that power.
I was going to say, because I do note that in traveling, that very often there's a particular group that seems to hold some of those.
Yeah. And I think some of the Indians that came over were also brought over for clerical work. So they were educated, they could read and write, and then they ended up going into the education field, and of course that ends up producing
Well, the British, guys, I don't know if you know this, as you get older, you'll see, when you go to a lot of African countries that were under the British Empire, there's a lot of Indian people there. Well, when I say India, they could have been today from Bangladesh, Pakistan. Those were all part of the Indian original Indian continent, and the British moved them to these African countries and many other countries, the different British colonies, to set up businesses and run the government and everything. So that's how you find, you go to Kenya and all of a sudden, let me return.
Oh, this is Triveni Mandir again.
This is beautiful.
Yeah, that's the Om symbol. You see the elephants again, symbol of royalty and authority and prosperity in the Indian culture. That's just another picture of the Mandir. Unfortunately, it's overcast today. I was there.
No,
that's a statue of Shiva right there on the top, at the very top.
No,
of that
these are great photos.
Peak.
And what business was this fellow in? Do you know?
There's Hanuman again. I don't know what he did. I don't know where his money came from. I don't know much about the man who built it. That's Hanuman again. This was a statue off to the side. He's the monkey god who... and you see there, you see that swastika right there. Of course, that's an international symbol.
That's a big Hindu symbol.
Correct. Very important in Hinduism. It's probably 3,000 years old, and it antedates its use or abuse by the Nazis. So to Hindus, it's still very much a symbol of peace and wishing somebody well. Of course, due to the Nazis, it has other meanings in the European and American context. It's more stained glass windows with the Om symbol on the stained glass window. It's a very interesting fusion. Now, this is a completely different place. This was actually, the man on the left there on that stage was the one who invited me to Trinidad. And he...
oh, really?
Yeah, he and his family built this ashram, which he belongs to a sect of Hinduism called the Kabir Panth. And they worship a poet named Kabir. And they treat his poetry as their scripture, and they just super generous, hospitable people. And I went down there primarily to spend time with him and a little bit of time with his community as well. So if you flip forward, you can see that I took some, that's Kabir himself, and you see the feet right there. That's kind of a symbol of him that you can also reverence. If you keep on going forward, you'll see some more of the people in there. That's one of the leaders of the temple, one of the recent leaders of the temple. So there's Hanuman again. I see a lot of Hanuman.
Busy.
Yeah, Hanuman's everywhere. And then this is interesting. There's Jesus.
Jesus.
Okay, so right in the Kabir Panth temple. So they believe that Jesus was also an enlightened religious
but they're
leader.
not convinced he was Hindu.
Well, no, I mean,
really?
they're still primarily worshiping and reverencing Kabir.
Okay.
But they're open to learning from Jesus and about Jesus. And so it's kind of interesting, you know, because if the Christians go to him and try to convert them to Hinduism, then they say, well, we've already got Jesus. We're all set. Whereas, you know, other religions, if you try to convert them to Christianity, they just won't. They'll try to keep away from all kind of outside influences. The Hindus say, oh, we've got them, so we've already got them, so we don't need.
You sound like you're very impressed with Hindu religion.
Oh, I am. I'm impressed. I mean, I've studied Hinduism for many years now and thoroughly enjoy it, and I've been to India. Well, twice. Once with students. I'm taking students again this summer to India.
I think our associate producer, Andrea, mentioned to me that she had been with you on a trip to India.
Andrea went with us to India. She was a great student to have there, and I think she enjoyed it.
She told me she did.
Oh, good. So it was a great experience.
Oh, this looks more like our typical vacation.
Right? This is Maracas Bay. This is a great beach. A lot of lifeguards, so very safe. They have some of the best beach food you can get anywhere in the world. They got this place you can get bacon shark, which is a like deep fried shark. They put it in bread, then you put all these kind of different mango
you liked
on
it?
top.
Which
Yeah,
is
tell 'em about
how my
Maracas Bay.
brother got his stitches on his eye.
Why? What happened? Tell me.
So my mom, she ordered one of the shark sandwiches.
Yeah.
And she offered me a bite.
Yeah.
I went over to get a bite. I tripped, and I hit my left eye on a beach chair. Luckily, it wasn't. Luckily, it wasn't metal. It was plastic. So.
Well, even so, you can get hurt.
And I had to get stitches.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Well, that
2 days into the trip.
That disrupts the vacation a little bit.
It did.
Well, I can't see any notice
Scars
of it.
right here.
No, it's hidden pretty good. They gave you good stitches.
And yeah, they had great medical care there, and scars.
There's Maracas Bay again.
Looks beautiful.
Yeah, it was very beautiful. Nice beach. And this these are some of the final pictures we have. This is Samis Villa. This is where we stayed. B&B. Wonderful place to stay, and our host, Denise Aliong, which we'll see some pictures of Denise in a second on the next picture. There's the Welcome to Samis Villa. So this is the back patio. And the other thing about Samis Villa is the people stay there just wonderful. Like the other guests are wonderful, so we were hanging out with other guests.
Mostly families, would you say?
Yeah, a lot of. It was families and single tourists.
Okay.
And we picked up Franz for a few days. Franz was from Austria, and he traveled with us for a few days. Super nice guy. So so if you go forward to the next picture, I think the next one's there's Denise. She's reading to Lydia. She's just super nice, super great cook. Of course, she's cooking us Trinidadian food the whole time, which was wonderful.
And the Trinidadian food, would you say, was more Caribbean style? How would you describe it?
It was Caribbean, but most of the islands in the Caribbean don't have any Indian influence. So Trinidadian food has Caribbean food with some Indian influence. Yeah, so they're going to use some spices that Indian food. Indian chefs use.
Curry. Now,
curries and chutneys.
What about Venezuela? You said you were very close to Venezuela.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get a sense Venezuela had any influence there?
Not very much.
Not very much, okay.
Except for that, a lot of...
Because when you were there, Hugo Chavez was the head of Venezuela.
Right.
He was very actively trying to push his, I'll quote it as a socialist agenda.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yet he didn't seem to be pushing it into Trinidad?
No, not at all.
Really?
I don't think they were particularly interested in what he was selling.
Okay.
The politics there are very different from the politics in Venezuela. And the only real Venezuelan influence I saw was that some of the highway signs were in English and Spanish.
Okay.
And that was about the
it.
only thing I saw. And that was as much to participate in the broader Latin American economy as much as to work with Venezuela.
Okay, I'm surprised. I would think being so close. All right, this is?
And that's Denise again. She's teaching the boys. What was she doing with y'all? Do you remember?
She was showing us, she was giving us some of the Trinidadian money. And she was
Oh, that's
teaching us
always
about
fun.
To take back.
Yeah.
And there's your bus driver.
That's our driver, Robert. Great guy. Very knowledgeable about Trinidad. Very good conversationalist. Super hospitable. Strong enough to hold up those boys at the same time. What was Robert like, fellas?
He was really fun, yeah.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah.
He was a great bus driver. And yeah.
And we traveled with his family
traveled with his family to
to
places.
Pitch Lake and to Marguerite Beach.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was really fun.
Did you go to some churches and stuff while you were there?
Yeah.
Which church did we go to? Do you remember?
I honestly don't remember.
You don't remember? We went to Denise's church.
Yeah.
Our,
Okay.
The B&B owner was Roman Catholic.
Oh yeah. I
So we
remember.
went to her church.
Okay.
I think twice with her. So that was nice. Nice to worship with her. Very hospitable
And
congregation.
did you find, were there any, for example, did the Mormons have any work going on there?
I saw no Mormon churches
okay.
there. Not that I recall. I mean,
Okay.
there are probably some, but I didn't.
I saw
didn't
you
see
had
it.
Presbyterian. You also said
Yep.
Anglican.
Yeah,
Was
Anglican.
it the British Anglican Church that ran it, or was it out of like Africa? Do you recall any of that?
That was still under the British,
It was.
worldwide,
Okay.
London-based Anglican Church.
Okay.
Yeah. So
And
I don't know if anything's changed with that, but 2 years
Okay.
ago that had not changed at all.
Okay. And did it seem, when you, were there any evangelical?
Oh,
Church.
very much so.
Oh,
Absolutely.
really?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And the evangelical churches, actually, there's a misconception. The evangelical churches tend to convert Christians from more traditional churches.
So they would take Episcopalians,
And
Presbyterians, and say you need to
Methodists.
become.
But they don't say that. It's just that the Hindus aren't that interested in converting. But the mainstream Christians, traditional Christians, are more likely to convert. So that's where those populations tend to come from. So.
And did they get any conversion of the Muslim people? Of the no,
very little.
They don't move.
All those groups, the Protestants, the Catholics, the Hindus, and the Muslims are very stable. Their populations are very stable. They have about the same birth rate. They don't convert back and forth very much. There's not a lot of attempts to convert because they're on an island. They don't have anywhere to go, so they're pretty focused on getting along. It might be similar to Hawaiian culture, a mixture of ethnicities and religions, and people. And you're on an island, you say, well, we better just get along.
When I look at the world today, I see in Nigeria where the Christians are being burnt in their churches, and they're going into mosques and killing the Muslims, and I see the Shia Muslims killing the Sunni Muslims.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of religious strife.
Yeah.
So here you have an ideal situation, multiple religions.
Right.
I don't know if you have any Jewish people there. Do they have a synagogue?
None. I'm
Okay.
sure there's a synagogue, but the Jewish population would be very, very small.
Very small.
Yeah.
All right, so they stayed out of it.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to study, was to see why they get along and how they get along.
It's interesting. There they could get along.
Correct.
And you seem to think it's because it's a small island and they need to get along?
You got geographic factors. Islands have to get along. If you don't, there's nowhere else to go. That's one factor. I think inheriting the British legal system, which
Rule of law you felt made a big difference.
Rule of law is important.
Yep.
Not a lot of tolerance of civil disorder. They used to have some, but it's also kind of faded out. So back in the 50s, every now and then there might be some Muslim kids would get in a fight with some Hindu kids or something like that. That's kind of faded out. It's really not happening much anymore. The educational system was very, they have a sound educational system.
And everybody goes, not a lot of private schools?
No, it's primarily public. They do have some private Catholic schools.
So most kids who go to school, the Hindu kids would be in school with?
No, they're actually fairly segregated by religion.
They are?
Yeah, they are. There are, and the government can fund a religious school.
Okay.
So that is different.
But they were segregated by religion.
Correct. Not all of them.
I understand.
I understand.
But most of the Hindu kids went to Hindu school.
Correct.
Muslim madrasas, whatever.
Correct.
And the Christian kids went to?
They could go to a Catholic school, for example. For example, the son of Denise, he went to a Catholic school that was publicly funded. But they all seem to get along, and the education system, the government does specifically promote interreligious harmony.
This is, again, your villa.
That's the B&B we stayed at, Denise Villa. Great place. So,
see,
I think Bill likes
to throw up the pictures in the middle so he can interrupt me.
I'm not going to argue with him. I'm not going to get into that argument.
Well, I got to tell you, this was a very enlightening visit. Great pictures. You kids got school tomorrow, so I'm not going to keep you too late. We're going to finish up very shortly. Would you like to go back to Trinidad?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, see? Oh, wow.
Why would y'all like to go back?
Because food, beaches,
Food's good.
Everything.
Well, let's write a letter to the Whiting Foundation.
I don't think they'll give me another grant.
Maybe. Why not?
Yeah.
Well, maybe another place.
Oh, that would be nice. That would be nice.
And you'll take the kids and come back and visit us again on Travels with Jack.
That'd be nice, too.
These were great pictures. Thank you, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, my pleasure. You got any questions for the host before you go?
No.
No? You sure?
How'd you like being on TV?
It was really fun.
I told you you'd have a good time. Thank you again. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Folks, Trinidad, it's a place to go. The food is terrific. The beaches are great. You'll get a easier visit to India than going to India. What else should I tell them?
It's relatively inexpensive.
And relatively inexpensive.
And the people are very kind. What were the people like in Trinidad?
Very generous.
Look at that. Nice people, low prices, great weather, beaches, great food.
Yeah, I highly recommend it.
We'll see you all soon. Thank you very much. Good night.